All right, hello and welcome to Camel Finance. I'm your boy Camel, and we got a pretty stacked week this week. We got consumer confidence data tomorrow. We've got new home sales data on Wednesday, Fed interest rate decision FOMC on Wednesday. We're currently sat at 99.8% chance, I think. It's in that neighborhood, so it's all but priced in that we're going to see a 25 basis point rate hike. That also, of course, leaves scope for a surprise pause, and I think the market will benefit strongly from that if we can see it. We've got Q2 2023 GDP data on Thursday, and then we've got PCE inflation data on Friday. Likely that is going to come in cold again. So there is plenty of scope for upside. And of course, we've got around 20% of the S&P 500 companies reporting earnings this week. So this is an absolutely stacked week. Make no mistake about it. But I'm afraid I have to continue with my defensive posturing. This was posted on the 5th of July. We are now, of course, in the final week of July. We've got a chart that looks something like this. So it's more than getting stretched in terms of the cycle. I am therefore proceeding with caution. I still think that we have to have this flush into the weekly cycle low, which is due somewhere around the middle to the end of August. That, of course, would line up with a daily cycle low due in around 20 sessions time as well for the S&P 500. But of course, if everything that I just mentioned, if all of this turns out to go according to plan, then we could easily see more upside before having this weekly cycle low flush, and the low could end up forming much higher up than this neighborhood here. So I have to be open to everything. Still got a bunch of exposure, but to be completely honest, given where we are in the cycles, given that these cycles and sentiment do need resetting and flushing out a little bit, I would not at all be surprised if I end the week with less positions than I've got as of today. So I'm ready to cut some positions. I'm ready to sit on the sidelines and wait for this weekly cycle low to occur. And then, of course, as I keep saying over and over again, as we get down into this neighborhood, wherever it forms, whether it's up, down here or slightly higher up, I think that's the time when we can go back to full aggression and full exposure again, targeting new all-time highs. Congratulations is in order for Bitcoin. So congratulations, Bitcoin, for having mined 800,000 blocks officially. More congratulations is due for Bitcoin as the Lightning Network capacity is now at the highest levels ever. Also, congratulations to all of the new whole coiners as Bitcoin addresses holding more than one Bitcoin is also now at an all-time high, as you can see right here in yellow. Congratulations to Global X, which has just joined the list of companies that have applied for a Bitcoin ETF. And one final congratulations to this US congressman, because he is saying that Congress must swiftly ban and then criminalize any effort to establish a CBDC. So we continue to see the fight, the battle unfolding. We continue to see Bitcoin versus the CBDCs. We continue to see freedom and hope versus tyranny and enslavement. What a time to be alive. Over here, we've got the Bollinger Band on the weekly time frame for Bitcoin. Now, this has got me on edge, to be completely honest with you. This is the tightest Bollinger Band squeeze ever recorded in history for Bitcoin. So you can see down here, this is the lowest this metric has ever been, which means the squeeze that we have on the weekly time frame for the Bollinger Bands is as tight as we have ever seen in all of Bitcoin's history. Now, why is this so significant? Well, first of all, the red in the middle is a 20-period moving average, and the yellow above and below the Bollinger Bands are simply two standard deviations above and below that 20-period moving average. So what we know for sure is whenever we get a squeeze, it always precedes a massive expansive move. And the tighter the squeeze, the more explosive we can expect the move to be. So the big question is this move going to be a massive upside move, or is it going to be a massive downside move? But either way, a monster Bitcoin move is certainly loading as we speak. If you're a regular at this channel, you will have seen this fractal a bunch of times before for Bitcoin. I have been working under the assumption that what we're going to see for the price of Bitcoin is a big early all-time high this year, a left translated cycle that tops around the end of this year, potentially into Q1 of next year, and then we spend the rest of the 4-year cycle in a decline. Now, of late, I've been talking about how this hypothesis is being tested massively. And if I hop into the fractal chart, you can see right here, we have certainly got a deviation underway as it currently stands. So if we continue to base, of course, then we can accept the 4-year cycle is probably going to repeat in a standard shape, and we can scratch this idea off. However, one of you eagle-eyed viewers pointed out something to me that I've been meaning to show you for a little while. Let's zoom in a little bit here. If I grab this fractal and I move it over one movement, you can see that this actually lines up. The price action shape here is much more similar, and so is this portion. So does that mean that we are getting close now to finding the ultimate low of this pullback before then we start a massive parabolic advance. That is to be determined. I'm going to leave this here for now and we'll see what happens. But undeniably, if Bitcoin is going to do this whole left translated cycle top, if it is going to put in an all-time high this year, then the Bollinger Bands are signaling a big move is loading. And if it is really going to form one of these left translated cycles and spend 3 years coming down, then it really needs to get a move on very, very soon. In blue here, we have the balance on exchanges for Coinbase, the Coinbase Bitcoin balances. And as you can see, all the way through all of this price action, massive amounts of Bitcoin have been withdrawn and put on cold storage for the long term. So we continue to be looking at a supply dwindling. And it's not just Coinbase that we're seeing this supply shock occur. For the entire epoch, we have averaged minus 614 Bitcoin a day versus the other 3 epochs or cycles where you can see exchange balances were in accumulation. This time really is different, and everything I've showed you so far continues to feed into this possible narrative that we could see this cycle change shape. Again, this hypothesis, this expectation is still being tested, but we're going to get an answer one way or the other within the next 30 days, I would have thought. I showed a while ago that the miners were selling an awful lot of Bitcoin following this recent pump, and this was likely behind the reason that the price has stagnated. But there's more good news here, because this seems to be signaling that the miners have stopped selling their Bitcoin and have moved back into accumulation mode. So if we can get more follow through to the green at the right hand side of this chart, we could certainly see rapid price appreciation once more. Remember, the miners are responsible for the vast majority of the sell side pressure in the Bitcoin network. If they have finished selling, then we are back in a situation that is conducive to much higher Bitcoin prices. The advanced decline ratio, which is down the bottom in green for Bitcoin, has given a signal that once more is conducive to further upside. What's really interesting about this is every time this signal occurred, we went on massive parabolic advances for the price of Bitcoin. What's even more interesting about this is when we had the 2019 pump out of the bear market low up to around 14K, the signal didn't actually flash here. So every time we've had one of these signals, it has led to huge parabolic advances, not just this little pre-halving pump that we saw in 2019, which tells us to be open-minded once more about better than expected outcomes for Bitcoin walking forward. We also have the 200-day average creeping up on the price line, so it's about time to see a move one way or another. As you can see, pretty much everything I've shown you this morning suggests that we are going to see a massive move for Bitcoin very, very soon. The price action of late with Bitcoin just chopping around in a tight range has led a lot of people, including myself, to question their sentiment, to question the bullishness. But I like this from Kush here, sentiment versus reality. The sentiment is, at the moment, we are in no way in an environment where Bitcoin could make outsized gains in such a short period of time. But the reality is, look at Nvidia, okay? Nvidia did it, why can't Bitcoin? As always on a Monday, not a great deal has changed since the weekend's deep dive TA video. We're still getting a counter trend bounce out of the dollar, perfectly reasonable to expect, but I think this is likely going to run into some resistance and rollover, and again we continue to target the mid-90s unless of course we can break out of this top downward sloping blue resistance line. Gold seems to be benefiting a little bit, but we know there's a daily cycle low in focus, so I have to be open to a bit more pullback, but I do think we can find a swing and get long again out of this daily cycle low, which is due over the next few sessions. The same is true of silver, so a little bit of a pullback to be expected after such a big, strong breakout, but I do think this is going to continue to resolve to the upside. We have this big red overhead line of resistance. I think if we can crack that, $30 comes shortly thereafter. XRP selling off a little bit, so we continue to push this trade. A back test of this range breakout somewhere around the 58 or 56 cents level wouldn't be out of the question. That would be perfectly healthy. So I'm going to keep pushing this and we'll just see if we can get some big explosive move out of XRP. Ethereum hanging around break even, still doing a whole heap of nothing, but I suspect if Bitcoin can get a move on, then Ethereum will follow. Bitcoin currently undergoing a breakdown of this range. So does this open up a move down towards the red and the yellow support lines? I would think so. The yellow, as you can see, is the range breakout. The red would be connecting the lows from back here. So some level of pullback perhaps is on its way. Given where the Bollinger Band squeezes, we've got to be open to seeing a violent downside move if this is going to continue to follow through. But with a daily cycle low in focus here for Bitcoin, I do think dips are for buying once we can find reversals. So I'm going to move this back to here. That's where I'm going to be looking for now, unless we can swiftly recover back inside this range, and then we'll go back to looking to buy a breakout above the top. But exciting times for the price of Bitcoin. I'm not going to cover any more charts since we've kind of already done it through the weekend's video, but I'll be back tomorrow with another video as always. So welcome to Monday. I hope you're as excited as I am for this week. I think it's going to be a really big week. For the most part, I just want to get through this week and the next week and then start to look out towards those cycle lows. And then from there, I think it's time to get super aggressive again. So again, a little bit more patience and I think everything is going to be okay. In the meantime, take care from me. All the best. Cheers. Bye.